And good morning, everybody. This is Grant from State of the Spark, and we are here. You're here. It's a beautiful day. It's a wonderful Monday to start taking back the year. You know, Marissa and I, my birthday is November 17th, and by that time, people are usually winding down for the holidays, and Marissa's birthday is January 14th. And by then, finally, everyone has come out of the New Year funk and are ready to start tackling some big things. And we love this day, the first full week back after Marissa's birthday, because it's our opportunity to take on the world. We're super pumped today, and I'm super glad you're checking in with us here. It's been a few days, and I've missed your lovely faces. That's okay, because we were doing awesome things. Today's show is Origami Superpowers, broke Biltmore and how the Vanderbilts lost it all, and 3 ways to hack your cravings to win at goals, and just a little bit of other news, a little bit of fun other news. So this morning, before we get into the lesson, 3 ways to hack your cravings to win goals, which I unabashedly am sharing with you from the book Atomic Habits. Fantastic book this morning. Unabashedly sharing that with you. Before that, we've got a few pieces of other news, how battle bots and AIs are fighting each other. Superpowers on origamis. This dude made a killer origami that I can't wait to share with you. But before all of that, we've got things we're grateful for. What are you grateful for this morning? I can't wait to share with you. I am blessed. We had a fantastic trip to the Biltmore. I am grateful for our trip to Asheville this weekend. We took Marissa. We spoiled her a little bit. It was a little bit of a busy weekend. We got to meet see a lot of wonderful people. We didn't meet too many people, but we also got to get away from Asheville and go to an even new area for us, Hot Springs. And if you ever get the chance, check out the town of Hot Springs. Book ahead a hot spring, a hot tub right on the river, but please be sure to hike Lover's Leap Trail. We got to walk in the most magical hike along the French Broad River. It was perfectly clear. It was gorgeous in a light snow the entire time. Yeah, you might heat up and get a little hot from your hikes, but we got into this hike and it was gorgeous. And there was a light flurry of snow on us. And once we kind of caught our breath from the hike and headed up the hill, you did these switchbacks and you could see the river and the entire time. And as you got to the top to Lover's Leap, you could see the entire town. The entire valley was private. It was gorgeous. We were the only ones up there. We had a blast. So you want a hot tip from our gratitude and a cup of gratitude this morning? My hot tip for you is the next time you're in Asheville, please, for the love of all that's holy, take time to drive up to Hot Springs. It's very close. And take a hike along Lover's Leap, and then go enjoy coffee at one of the local coffee places. We certainly did. We shopped in the local market. We went to the local diner. You know, we got a good breakfast wrap after that. It was extraordinary, and I recommend checking out Hot Springs. That is what I'm grateful for. And by the way, if you have never walked, forget the Biltmore. If you have never walked the gardens at the Biltmore, the outside space, including the conservatory, you, my friend, are missing out. I do recommend you check that out. So that is what I'm grateful for. What are you grateful for this morning? Please do share in the comments the things you're grateful for, because it lights me up to know that you're starting your day full of passion and gratitude. So here's to us, a warm cup of gratitude. Sharon, 2 awesome people just looking at each other going, you're going to have a killer day. Here's to that. So in other news, my beautiful friends, in other news, number 1, Origami Superpowers. How a man built an entire detail-rich Sean McDonough. I'm grateful for you, man. Thank you so much. I hope you're out there having a good time. And by the way, Sean McDonough, you're going to appreciate this. We were driving on the grounds, and I was driving, and I caught out of the corner of my eye in a little bit of a thicket, huge turkeys. And I wonder if you're allowed to actually hunt on the grounds there, because I heard quail guns, but you would have loved these turkeys. They were huge. We had to back up and check them out. You would have loved it, sir. So Origami Superpowers, a man built an entire samurai, detail-focused samurai, from a single sheet of rice paper. Yes, I'm going to butcher this gentleman's name. You're here for it on a Monday morning while I butcher a Finnish man's name, Juho Konkola. Sean says, let's go hunting. Yeah, it's awesome. And we saw deer all morning long. I'm pretty sure you can't hunt the deer there on the grounds. Maybe someone locally can, but the turkey sure looked good. Juho Konkola, I'm probably butchering this gentleman's name. He is a Finnish man, and he spent 50 hours building a 12-inch, detail-rich samurai from a single sheet of paper. He used Wenju rice paper. He is a 23-year-old Finnish artist, and he actually uses these techniques, which I have never heard of, which are wet and dry origami techniques. It's 11 inches tall, and you've got to see this thumbnail. Stick tight. Here it is. It's going to load. Boom. There you go. You've got it there. There's a thumbnail in the comments below that are phenomenal. And yes, if you look at that samurai, that is the samurai folded from a single sheet of paper. That, my friends, is art news. Here we go for AI news. So BattleBots are fighting it out. BattleBots are fighting it out. Basically, it is generally consensus that by the year 2030, AI will replace cybersecurity. Why is that? Because criminals have been testing the hacking ability of AI. And so as AI gets smarter than the average hacker, smarter than the average bear, as AI gets smarter than the average hacker, defense and cybersecurity also need to get smarter. So they're basically wielding AI. And by the year 2030, it is estimated in an interview of over 500 IT directors and managers, nearly 41% of them believe that this will be battled out by AI. For context, 9% of the respondents say emphatically no, that AI would not take their job over. And this was interesting to me. It's interesting because, as they pointed out, criminals' motives is largely money. Sometimes it's disruption, sometimes it's interruption, but more often than not, criminals are motivated first and foremost by money. And as AIs battle it out, it is basically a nuclear AI arms race, in short, that costs more and more money to wage. So they believe criminals will actually find other ways to hack your world than is even required by AI. So watch for organic means of hacking. Watch for actual physical crimes in terms of information, the stealing of hard drives, the, what do they call it? Social engineering, when they observe someone or try to guess their password and actually learn from that person instead of going head to head with trying to penetrate a firewall. So this is an interesting survey for those who care about the BattleBots of AI. There's the link, and there's the link. Boom, you've got that. And it's very interesting to observe how this technology will be wielded and ultimately, as a lot of the respondents believe, stalemated, at least as it comes to cybersecurity. If you're worried about AI, you should be, because a lot of the respondents also believe we will not be able to control AI. And some of the respondents believe that as these AIs battle each other, they believe these AIs will learn from each other. And some people believe transcend. That's it for your creepy AI news this morning. Last but not least, how the Vanderbilts lost their moolah. So fun fact, Marissa and I, whenever we travel, we wield Wikipedia as our ultimate form of streaming. Good morning, I hope you're doing so good. That's Mr. Ivan Fennell out there checking in. I hope you're doing good. Where in the country are you at this point? Is a world traveler, and I haven't seen him in ages, but he just bopped by. So good morning, sir. So yes, believe it or not, when you hear the Vanderbilt name, you think of gilded luxuries. And that's largely in part to the large estates we still know and visit today, whether as museums or the largest single home in America, as the Biltmore was registered as. When we think about the Vanderbilts, we obviously think of gilded living. Think of that no more. Come to find out, most of the Vanderbilt fortune has been squandered, the original fortune. And I have to pause there because there are awesome people out there who are building their own fortune on their own merit, maybe borrowing their name, but definitely not borrowing from their finances. Here's a few quick fun facts. As of 1877, not a single member of the Vanderbilt family was among the richest in America. You got to remember, the Vanderbilts were the richest in America in the early 1800s, late 1700s, when the Commodore had managed to build up their wealth. He handed their wealth, I believe, to, I could stand corrected, to William Vanderbilt, who did in fact manage to double the money, but no credit to his father. However, by 1877, not a single member of the family was among the richest. Still wealthy, but not among the richest. That is less than 100 years later. Now, check this out. By 1973, 120 of the descendants of the Vanderbilts got together. There was not a single millionaire among them. Now, this is like a case in point of skewed data, right? If you're truly a wealthy Vanderbilt hiding from the spotlight, you're probably not going to show up to a family reunion where 120 or more other Vanderbilts who are not millionaires are going to be. It gives like unfettered access to wealth, especially when people had squandered it. But it is interesting that not a single millionaire was able to show up. Now, what happened? Long story short, the Vanderbilts were considered new money and were competing quite often to be accepted into the wealth circles. In short, it was a case of keeping up with the millionaire and billionaire Joneses. And the biggest infractor of this was Alva Vanderbilt, who was significantly trying to get accepted into the New York socialite scene. She couldn't get accepted. She kept trying to do parties. She kept trying to do things to win their affection and be accepted in. All to no avail. So she ultimately built a home on Fifth Avenue, which basically spent nearly all of her money. Still, it did not give her access to the wealthy elite. So then she decided to throw her own parties, often spending millions on single parties, which was a large chunk of their fortune. Did it work for her? Yes, at first. She did get accepted and invited to some of the parties, but not the parties she ultimately sought after. And in a mere 30 or 40 years after she built her largest estate on Fifth Avenue, it was being demolished by a wrecking ball. She basically spent her money on parties. So as William Vanderbilt once said about his neighbor, this is very interesting. William Vanderbilt said, about his neighbor, my neighbor isn't worth 100th as much as I am, but he has more of the real pleasures in life than I have. His house is as comfortable as mine, even if it didn't cost so much. His team is about as good as mine. His opera box is directly next to mine. His health is actually better than mine, and he will probably outlive me. And he can trust his friends. Being the richest person in the world brought me nothing but anxiety. Do you need to seek to be that wealthy? No, but being decently wealthy wouldn't be so bad. One other finer point. So basically the Vanderbilt fortune was squandered on trying to keep up with the Joneses, but there was another point here. In contrast, John Astor did a 50-50 trust. 50% of his wealth was given to his children, but another 50% was given to his grandchildren, and there were contingencies that they continue the same. Also, Astor's money was distributed amongst his children, and he educated more of his children on how to manage money. By contrast, Cornelius Vanderbilt, the Commodore, actually did not train his children how to manage money. Most of his money went to a single child who did manage to double it, but only in spite of himself, and that did not have the 50-50 trust. There's an interesting article here, how you can actually see how they distributed some of their money and how the Vanderbilt fortune was ultimately squandered. There you are for other news, wealth news this morning on why the Vanderbilt is awesome, but why it's nothing to aspire to. Here we go. So for today's lesson, we're going to touch on the 3 keys of hacking your biology in your brain to achieve more goals. Now, as I said when I did the intro, I unabashedly gained this from the book Atomic Habits. I recommend you buy it. I recommend you read it. I was listening to it on my run this morning. And there's 3 quick facts I just wanted to pull out for you that really resonated with me. And I had a living example. I actually was running And the running itself was accomplished, something I didn't really want to do, but definitely needed to do and need to continue to do. I was actually executing on that thing. So here they are. Number one, hack your wants versus your needs. Take pleasure in the wanting. So the first step is taking pleasure in the wanting. You see, in a study, the pleasure center of your brain is actually smaller than the craving part of your brain. This was an interesting fact. This was the big takeaway for me. The pleasure, hear that again, and think about this. The pleasure center of your brain, actually enjoying a thing, is actually smaller than the craving of a thing. It's called the hedonic centers or the pleasure centers of the brain. We enjoy craving something. We actually lavish and in the craving. There is more dopamine surrounded in the craving than having of the thing itself. I enjoy wanting to surf or paint even more than I enjoy the act of surfing and painting. Now, this doesn't diminish the fact that I love surfing. This does not diminish the fact that I love painting. Marissa enjoys preparing for a hike or a mountain. She enjoys craving being in the mountains even more than the act of actually having the hike or being in the mountains. That doesn't diminish the fact that she loves being in the mountains and she loves hiking. But statistically, both of us and you enjoy take pleasure in, have more dopamine in the craving of a thing. And it's a little early for the S word. But you can tell this when it comes to sex. We often lavish more in the craving and the buildup than the act itself. Knowing this is empowering. Knowing that the part of your brain that drives dopamine is factors larger than the part of your brain that drives dopamine for actually doing the thing. This is really important, and you can hack this. So step one, know this fact. Step one is knowing this fact that you should take pleasure in the wanting. You should be okay and selective. You should be okay with, but also selective with the things you allow yourself to crave. Should you crave fig Newtons? Not necessarily, and you should take no pleasure in that. But should you take pleasure in time with your spouse or your partner? Yes, you should enjoy and lavish in the lust or craving of that. Should you take pleasure? Should Marissa take pleasure in hiking? Yes, but she should also take pleasure in the wanting. She should free herself to say, no, I love the planning. No, I love the preparation. I should take pleasure in, no, I love daydreaming about surfing and prepping for a good surf. No, I love the drive to the beach. No, I love that. We should take pleasure in the things we're trying to nurture. As I go through my day, I should take pleasure in preparing to paint. But here's the trick. You should be selective. As anyone knows, things like alcoholism, drug addiction, these things can get out of control quick. So we should not only take pleasure in the wanting, we should be selective. That's step one. Step two, temptation bundling. You should stack your wants with your needs. So the example of this, remember, actually taking pleasure is this big. Actually craving is this big. I needed to run this morning, but I did not want to. I knew I would take very little pleasure in the running, but I wanted a very long hot shower. That's what I wanted. I wanted a long hot shower, and I made a quick deal with myself, and I put my shoes on, and there was other things. I put my shoes right next to my bed. I put my gym clothes on in the morning. There's things like that you should always do. But when my alarm went off, I really didn't want to go out and do the need. My pleasure center, I knew my pleasure center would be this big. But I made a deal with myself. I really want a long hot shower. So I told myself, and this is what is known as temptation stacking. I told myself, if I do my run, I will sit. I normally only shower for so many minutes because I got to get to the gym. I got to get here. I got to write the show. I've got to read. I got to do my studying. I got to prep for the day. So I normally schedule my shower very tightly. But I told myself, if I run, I'll let myself have that long hot shower. Stacking. So I said, I'll take a long hot shower, and I anchored myself. Man, I'm going to go run, not because I take pleasure in running. My pleasure was this big, but because I would really love that hot shower. So this is how you stack. Knowing that the wanting is much larger. I can't fake it and say, I really want to get this run in. I didn't really want that. So I want something else. So if I can stack those things, if I can put the run in front of the shower, it's just a barrier to get through. So I go out and run. You get it. Incentivize yourself. This is how you leverage the hedonic centers of the brain. Last but not least, the other quick takeaway, you got to update your group. There was a fun study that James Clear, I think Mr. Clear, James Clear brought up in the book, and it was this. There was a chimpanzee that found a superior way to crack a nut open, and it was able to crack the nuts and feed itself and crack the nuts and feed itself. And it was growing fast and it was on its own. It then found another group of chimpanzees to be a part of. And it joined that group. And it observed the other chimpanzees, and the other chimpanzees had an inferior way to get nuts. It would take them a lot longer to crack the nut and get the or crack the shell open and get the nut. It would take them a lot longer. But the chimpanzee wanted to belong. So it forsaked, got rid of, stopped using its superior nut cracking method. Now, it could have tried to teach everyone else, but trying to teach a group to do something better is a lot harder than fitting in. And that's your quote for Monday morning. It's a lot harder to teach a group to change their behavior than it is to fit in. We want and need to fit in. We might want to teach our people to be better politically. We might teach our society to not be so binary and so divided, but we really want to fit in. We need to fit in. Think about the pleasure centers, the wants versus the needs. The needs, we need to fit in. It's a lot easier to fit in. So here's the trick. Instead of trying to teach the people around you, you can influence people. But if you have enough resistance on your fitness goals, your political goals, your business goals, your self-image, what you want out of life, becoming a studier, studying more in 2021, instead of trying to influence the people around you, if there is enough resistance, you might just need to upgrade your group. If you find that your group is doing crazy things, yeah, you're going to try to influence them from the inside out. I had a mentor, Terry, who said he saw all the flaws in the church, but a teacher challenged him in college and said, don't you want to change this thing from the inside out? And as a young man, Terry said yes, and he joined the church and got involved with the church. And to this day, Terry says, I want my college tuition back. I want my money back. And that was bad advice. It's bad advice that in certain groups, and I'm not saying prescriptively the church is, in Terry's case, the denomination he was a part of was difficult to change. You really need to do some soul searching and ask yourself, is the group I have built around me, is my close group, my spouse, is in my family, is my many group, the city I live in, the people I live and breathe with every single day, and then the powerful, the people I look up to, those groups were identified from James Clear, the close, the many, and the powerful. Are these groups influencing me to be the person I want to do? Basically, choose your group, and hopefully the group you choose, and with things like Facebook groups, Instagram groups, TikTok spaces, the thing about these groups is you can cherry pick. There are many of them, and you should be selective to choose the group that is living the things you want to live, your clubhouse group, living the things you want to live and having the traits you want to have, and might even be better if they even have something in common. If you want to get fit, join a group that gets fit. But if you're a gamer, join a gamer group of people getting fit. If you want to build a business and you're starting from scratch, join a launch group. And if you also happen to love hiking like Marissa does, join a group of business owning hikers. Find these groups. There's these niches out there for you. Upgrade your group. Can you influence your group? Yes, absolutely. But is this the season? You need to do some real soul searching and journaling. Is this the season for you to invest all the energy, all the calories to change them? Maybe you need an easy, quick start just to gain momentum. And can you pivot to those groups later? Yeah, let's say your family is extreme left or right as it comes to politics, and you want to influence them to be more moderate. You got to ask yourself, is now the season to fight that fight? Maybe you need to go off and build some more influence. Maybe you need to go off and have some more wins. And then when you come back to your family, you might have more influence. Brock McKean says, I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member. Groucho Marx. And there's some profoundness to this quote from Brock by Groucho Marx. I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member. Now, this might just be funny, tongue-in-cheek, but it could also be brilliant from this regard. Remember, Einstein said you can never solve a problem at the level of thinking you had when you came up with the problem. Maybe Groucho's saying the same thing. Listen, who I am today and who I need to be, I refuse to join a group that would accept me as I am today. I need to fight to be involved in groups that should accept me, the who that I am trying to be. If you want to be a millionaire, don't wait till you're a millionaire to join millionaire groups. Jessica simply says, great message today. Jessica, I love it. What are you getting out of today's message? What was the biggest takeaway for you? And I owe Jessica, some reward money over at the Goals and Gratitude group, but also a lesson. I'm saying that out loud, Jessica, because I remembered, I am acknowledging it. And now that we're back from vacation, we'll take that on. Listen, guys, I'm going to leave you on this. Don't take your desires lightly. You need to game your goals. They're there for a reason. If you know that you should be more fit, you need to act on that. If you know you should build up your business and really hustle it out, you should game and hack that. If, like Marissa, you know in your knower that you should be hiking, you should game and hack that and surround yourself with people that bring those things to you. I try to be that for Marissa. I try to bring that to Marissa. I hope that she reciprocates that. We build businesses together. We build investments together. I hope for you, your spouse does the same thing. You need to surround yourself with groups that are encouraging what you're doing, lifting you up, and you need to be reciprocating that as well. So I would curate your group to the next level. I would also hack and stack your wants. If you want something and if you need something, you need to do something like fitness. You need to do something like sales. You need to do something like break out of your shell, but you have major resistance or that pleasure center is just so small. Find a want you can dangle in front of that and go, okay, man, I'm going to actually reward myself like X. If Marissa loves hiking and I love surfing, we're going to reward ourselves with a trip to Patagonia if we build our business to X. Now, there's other elements at play, something like delayed gratification. Can I work hard for months and months and months and delay that? Yeah. But you also have to be honest with yourself. Do you work well with delayed gratification? If you don't work well, you need to build smaller chunks. There's ways you can hack this to achieve more. But listen, the world needs more of who you are. And if you hear anything today, whether it's the lessons learned from the Biltmore, these people that just pursued wealth and have nothing to show for it 200 years later, or not nothing, but very little to show for it individually. No millionaires by 1973. No millionaires by 1973. I'll leave you with this quote from John Eldridge. Don't go out and find what the world needs and meet it. Instead, find what makes you alive and do that. Because what the world needs is people who are alive. Listen, I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much. Brock just jumps in and says, cues are so real. I highly recommend Atomic Habits. And as I said, I unabashedly took my lessons today from Atomic Habits. I recommend you read the book. Listen, if you need any support, remember, join us at stateofthespark.com. Visit the website. Or if you just want to get involved in more dialogues like these, visit us at the Goals and Gratitude and Success Group on Facebook. But whatever you do today, remember the mission. Igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a